of Traveler. Awesome fucking dude. What's going on, man?
Just having a soda pop here. A
Yeah,
nice old
man.
honey. Yeah.
That good old Canadian shit, huh? That good old
Yeah, the
Canadian shit.
Heineken. Yes, the Canadian Heineken. Yeah.
Dude, so the mullet is like full force right now. Like you look like you could be on a hockey team, bro. I don't even I feel like things are really looking up for you right now with this new hairstyle. I know
Yeah.
you've been kind of rocking it for a little bit, but it's getting lengthy back there, man.
Yeah. Most of that's out of laziness too. But
Yeah.
I just feel like my powers are growing, Like the longer it gets, the
Bro,
more
I
power.
saw I saw a fucking mullet today. I was taking my dad to the doctor's, and this dude was like talking to himself on the side of the street, and he looked young. I was like, what the fuck? And bro, this dude's mullet was fierce. It was just like, I mean, it was tail end, mid back, and just gone
Nice.
up here. Just like he had it
Oh, sweet.
short.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I was like, that's when you kind of know like it's returned with full force. Like the mullet's
That's pretty
fucking
gnarly, man.
back, dude.
I I don't think I could ever be that powerful. I don't think I'll ever go that far. But I don't know. I've just been fucking around with it. I've been like stuck in like high school hair because I don't do hair. I don't care about hair, so I just tried something else. But yeah.
I've always loved the fact that you're like the short haired like guitar god of the scene, because
Well,
like there ain't nobody else that be rocking it, man.
I guess yeah.
Very
I'm really
few.
trying to think. Like guitar shredders. I mean, I'm not much of a shredder. I guess
Oh
I
fucking shit!
I don't know.
Get the
Like
fuck out of here! Get the
Torian's like
fuck.
the super shredder.
Well, hey, there's the super shredders, and then there's the shredders, and then there's just like people that play, but like you do play lead guitar in the band as well, and
Yeah,
you're good.
yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't say you shred and lie to you in front of your face. So good
All
guitar
right.
playing, short hairstyle, love the mullet, man. Actually, like it does have a good look to it, man. Honestly, for you, because I know that you're not that guy that's like, look at my fucking hair, and like, you know what I mean. So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like the low maintenance aesthetic, but it also kind of like it reminds me a lot of like my dad's. It sounds ridiculous. Reminds me of my dad's friends when I was a little kid. Like
Oh,
a
sick.
lot of
Okay.
everybody
Yeah,
was like transforming from like long rocker hair to like more of you know, the 80s hair, like really like
yeah.
fucking Oakley glasses, fucking Gold's Gym shirt, Pontiac Firebird. I mean, that was kind of like the thing for a while. And I see like this return of the hairstyle. And I'm glad, because honestly, I really hate the faux hawk. I'm like, just give it a little more, man. Like, like
Yeah, yeah.
it looks more fun,
Well, I didn't know that you were a hairstylist for like a number of years. I had no
Yeah,
idea. Uh,
18 fucking years.
yeah, wow, man. Fuck.
Yeah, I
Well,
had
that's
like a
good. That's
full
a good
on
skill to
career.
have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I've always been into hair because of my mom. My mom was the fucking band hairstylist, so it was kind of like it just was one of those ways I didn't know what to do because I wanted to play music so badly. And you have to have a job of some sort. And I needed to be able to get a job and leave a job in the fucking crack of a moment. So I
Yeah,
don't
right.
know what I'm smoking. I just got this shit the other day. Like I just to noogie. I honestly I just go onto the website, Kaliva.com, which is like a local dispensary,
Yeah.
and I look at what I just want, like a half ounce of roll weed. So like I like the littler buds, so I don't have to like smash them in my grinder. Like
Yeah.
you try to stick a big ass bud in there, and it's kind of a motherfucker. So I like the little nugs. So that's what I'm smoking right now. No clue what it is. I don't have a preference as long as it gets me stoned. But yeah, man,
Yeah, you
I
want
did do
results.
hair. I've been retired for 6 years. it's a terrible business for like for me. It really was at the tail end. My heart was set on music, and I know we've had a lot of conversations about how to make music a living because we live in an era where it's not as simple as like I'm in a band, I'm in a signed band, I'm touring, we're playing festivals, I'm broke and I work a day job.
Yeah, dude. Man, I I think especially during like lockdown era, I was trying to come up with all sorts of crazy shit I can do, you know, like because I mean there was nothing else to do but think about like what can I do next, you know, because you weren't doing anything now other than like, you know, writing and whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, I came up with all sorts of shit that I was like, uh, I wanted to try, I wanted to do this and that and this and that. Like none of it really even transpired. It was just like,
Yeah,
or
because I recall a lot of our conversations because that's how you and I really started like talking a lot because of kind of the insight I have on being like an independent artist now, free of record label. I'm just gonna say shenanigans. It may piss some people off, but record label shenanigans, and I only mean that in the light of like there's always some sort of string attached when you sign a contract, no matter if it's the best contract that you've ever seen, there's a string in there somewhere. And
yeah,
you're no longer the controller of your work, essentially.
yeah, man, you got to be careful because I mean, thankfully, like from the get go, uh, we held on to our digital rights, you know, for the most part, which is like pretty major in this day and age. So, like, advice to anyone would be like, at least ask for that, you know, ask for 100% digital or at least all the Bandcamp sales or whatever, you know, like whatever
Yeah,
you can get.
the simplest things. You're absolutely right. Now, in that light, like, do you find like man, I don't know what I would do without Bandcamp. It has been such a voice for me and a place where I can like really let my artistic side really like blossom. Like before that, you like really had to rely on a record label to put your music out. And I feel like it's like lessened because of that. Like I feel like Bandcamp has been like, well, you could kind of do this shit yourself and see how it goes. Because it's like, first and foremost, you have to have a song that people want to hear, you
Yeah.
know?
Step one, step
Step
one,
one.
start a good
And
song.
I remember hearing Traveler for the first time, and man, I really was drawn to your guys' band a lot. I liked first off, I liked the departure of swords and steel. And again, everybody's gonna hate me when I'm done with all these Friends episodes because I've been
Yeah,
really shitting on that lately, like pretty hard. But it's
yeah,
just because you have a lot of people need to understand where I'm from in California. That's just not never been really a big thing, especially in the music scenes. There's just like you grew up in the punk scene, and then there's like some of the other like the metal scene that's around is definitely more thrash, especially in California. So it's
right.
just a different thing. And like, I'm just like, you know, for me personally, when Traveler hit, I was just like, great, this is exactly, I'm definitely more into the sci-fi shit, like for sure. I grew up reading Stephen King novels, Michael Crichton, um, stuff like that. I don't really read it anymore, but like I still find myself really, gravitating towards anything space. I used to love that anything space related. I was like a fan, and you guys kind of like struck that nerve a little bit right there. Like it was like, all right, I dig this. This is great, different concept. So was that like intentional, or were you guys just like, well, I guess this is what it's going to be about. And you guys are called travelers, so it kind of like it seems cohesive.
Yeah, and I mean, especially joining Contact too, another like
Yeah,
aliens.
you're contact now.
So
is your next band gonna be called Arrival?
I should just be in a band called Alien, and we'll make a whole
Alien.
nother
Yep.
Canadian
Yep.
Alien. No, but
Another Canadian
like
alien.
it's funny how that worked, and it like people are probably like there might be people out there that are thinking like I'm some Canadian John Cyrus or something, you know. But like, but really, honestly, man, like just space and alien shit. It's like kind of the most fun like conspiracy out there, you know, and it's so fun to write around, like because like there's so many unanswered questions and whatever, and it's just fun to think
I
about, you
I
know.
would love to see, like, we had like the space race of the 60s and all these things, right? Like I've always been like, why did we ever really, like, we it seems like we've really stopped space exploration. It's like we do
Yeah,
send some telescopes and shit out, but where's the adventure that's like, all right, we're just gonna get on a fucking, we're gonna go do this and make it happen somehow, you
some
know?
mission.
And, and
We need more missions, right? Yeah,
we really do. I don't know,
yeah.
I mean, out of all the things in this world that we spend money on, it would be interesting to have answers to questions that we are looking for, more real answers, you know?
Well, there's probably I mean, I don't follow a lot of it, you know, but I mean, I know Dave does. Dave actually follows it quite a bit. He's way more dorky about it than I am. Like he actually has like facts to back up the shit that he talks about, you know. But
Mhm.
yeah, he follows all that. But I'm sure if you like followed it as closely, you could probably find that,
Oh,
you know,
I
they're doing
definitely
tons
follow
of
Dave.
research.
I love
Yeah,
Dave. I miss Dave when we did Hell's Heroes. I was like, man, it was kind of a shock to see, just to not have him around, because he has a very nice aura to him, and a lot of love to Dave if he watches this real quickly, because I did want
yeah,
to talk about that too, because you've now experienced, I mean, I've gone through quite a few member changes. I've had a drummer change. I've had three bass player changes and a guitar change. Um, you've had a drummer change.
yeah,
So you got Nolan Benedetti now.
yeah,
Did I
yeah.
say that right?
Yeah, you said it right. Yeah, you can say Benedetti, but maybe you can't say Reese, dude. The fuck? Yeah.
Dude.
No, yeah.
Well,
So
it's because I'm part Italian.
okay.
It makes sense. Even though my
All
name's
right.
Trevor Church, my mom is Kinsella, so it's like there's a
Uh,
big old, like, I got the Italian side, and then I got my dad's side, all the bohemian weirdo fucks. So that's
m-
just that's how that worked. That's how that worked out in the end. So,
yeah.
fuck,
Well,
man,
yeah. So
like,
we have Nolan and Jake went now. Um,
who
but yeah,
played
like
bass at
so.
who played bass at Frozen in Time?
Oh, that was Jake.
Okay, so he's
Yeah.
a permanent member now.
Yeah. So basically, Traveler is like 3/5 Chrome, my other band.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That I remember you saying that now. And that's great. I like the recycling of players, and I mean, the first time I actually saw Traveler, which is so fucking weird. The first time I saw Traveler, and probably the first time you saw Haunt, was at Brofest in Newcastle, England.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And
That's yeah,
at that
yeah.
time you were sharing a drummer with Riot City.
Yeah, so that was weird, man. Like, because Chad was in Chrome as well, right? So that was like kind of right after people started to like start to like what we were doing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I didn't really have anyone in mind. Like I actually asked Nolan first, but he was in like another thrash band, WMD. He was pretty busy and wanting to focus on that. Um, And then, yeah, so I was like, all right, well, Chad obviously would be, you know,
And
my
now
next.
he's not in either band now, correct?
Yeah, so he wanted to settle down and just be a family man and focus on his job and just be
That
a regular.
happens. That happens, man, because this
It,
isn't, especially if you're a drummer. it ain't the highest paying gig out there because you don't
Yeah,
generally
yeah.
aren't the songwriter, and
Right.
you'll get just kind of locked into like whatever kind of money you could get. And it's kind of a drag that music has really shifted from being something that was a profitable thing if you worked hard and you did it and had good music and really focused on what you're doing. Even small bands back in the day were able to make, you know, a true blue collar living off of music. Whereas now, I actually just today, there is a music union forming, and I joined it today, just to kind of see what it's going to be like. Because back in my dad's day, there was a music union, but they didn't really do anything, and all the guys were fucking making good money because even if you were the low end drummer bassist that didn't do shit other than show up to practice and do your part, and not saying that that's like, I'm not trying to belittle that because we all know that's the skeleton, that's the low end, that's it's one of the most important parts. And my dad is a bass player, so I would never belittle the instrument. I play it, I respect it, I finger pick, man. I'm a fucking wicked finger picker, bro.
So this
Like
guy right here.
nobody knows. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it. I see. We
Dude,
all.
this is a total piece of shit $200 Squire that I bought on like
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace. This is what I used on the first Traveler album, actually.
Hey, I mean, fuck it, dude. I mean, that like is that
It
like
worked.
$200 guitar versus a $2,000 guitar? It's not gonna really. It's the person playing it that's gonna really make it shine at the end of the day.
Yeah, and
So
like you get
whatever.
someone who knows what they're doing to polish the turd, and then it fucking then it sounds okay, right? But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, anybody,
yeah,
polishing a turd is what people that are going to be engineers and mixing and mastering guys. That's what they're supposed to learn. But anyway,
yeah.
I joined this musical union, and I think we're kind of living in this era now. We've been giving away music for so long that people don't value it the same, and then you have industry people literally saying, "Well, there's oversaturation," right? And I'm like,
Right.
everything is fucking oversaturated. That's just a cop out to make people go, oh yeah, it is oversaturated. Well, duh, look how many
Well,
fucking people are on this earth.
yeah,
Like,
like it.
come on now.
You're right, because it kind of always was. Because fuck, who wrote that book? It might have been Martin Popoff or
We
some.
love Martin, over here. Martin did
Yeah,
my dad's book. He's fucking
right.
brilliant.
I can't
So,
remember who wrote it, but there's a really fucking awesome uh, history of British heavy metal book where
oh,
it's like,
John Tucker.
oh yeah, that's probably right. Yeah,
John
so like
Tucker. He wrote.
it's like a
It's
thick
like the
ass
fucking
book.
dictionary of new wave of British heavy metal.
Yeah, and
He
it's
was
like
actually
it's like
he
this
was at
thick.
Brofest.
Oh, he was.
He
Oh
was.
shit.
I
Okay.
actually got him to sign the book there.
Oh, cool.
He's
Nice.
a very knowledgeable guy. Like he knows everything, and he knows all those dudes. But anyway, go on, elaborate. Sorry to interrupt on that, but
Well,
that's who
just
wrote it.
speaking over like oversaturation. I mean, it kind of always was like just in the UK alone for
Oh my
like heavy
god!
metal.
If I went and
There,
got the book, right now, it's this thick.
yeah, it's crazy, man.
And
Yeah,
in the new wave of British heavy metal genre didn't last very long.
yeah, exactly. And on some of those pages, man, like it's small writing with sometimes like five fucking bands on each page, and you're like, so there was a lot, even back then. So
There
you're
was a
right.
lot.
It
People
is kind
love
of
music. People love to play
yeah,
music. It's in us. It really like it moves the spirit. So like of course people are going to be interested in doing it. It's just like, but I just feel like there's bands out there, you kind of transcend from being like the one that's oversaturating it. Like, I don't mean to like put our two bands in there, but Haunt and Traveler, we have enough people listening to our music where we're a little bit more relevant than the local band that's trying to get it together. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah. I
that
mean,
changes what you think of what is exactly saturation. Because my homie Dwayne from More Than the Light told me the other day that there's some statistics out there, because there's a lot of Spotify is like under a fucking microscope right now. People are like talking about it all the time now.
yeah.
And like it was saying that like 60% of what, if not more, he'll probably correct me later, but I know it was in the 60s percent of the bands on there were just like throwaway bands, man. Like can't like
Oh, yeah.
they don't even get
Right.
500 plays.
Right.
Like there's just, so
Yeah.
it's just a lot of, because anybody could do it. All you have to do is sign up for CD Baby, DistroKid, or any of those. It's so easy to navigate. You just pay them their fucking fee, and boom, you're online on all of the platforms. That easy. Click of the button, a little money out of your fucking pocket, and you're on Spotify. Of course, it's oversaturated. That's like
Yeah.
telling me, like, hey, you could pay $40 and you could put all your shit right here and sell it all day long. People will come and take it for free all day long, and we'll give you like, not even a fucking fraction of a percent for what you do. And I've never been, I'm not, I understand it from fan perspective that it's easy to access. It's like you have a library. You don't have to have space for your library. You can kind of almost take it anywhere where there's internet, right? Like, but where we lost the sight is when the artists stopped being paid and it was just free. Like you're just on Napster, you were on fucking LimeWire, you were on whatever, SoulSeek, any of the fucking million list of peer-to-peer file sharing that was out there. But the thing with peer-to-peer file sharing back in the day, and I'm an old fucker, as you know, I'm in my 40s and shit. Like I'm not a young spring chicken. I remember all this stuff vividly because I lived the era of all of that. And the problem with things like Napster and those things back in the day, of 56K modem, is it took one day to download an album. So
Oh,
you could
yeah.
find the
Yeah.
album, but you didn't have it in 3 seconds. You had to wait all night, and you had to hope that that person didn't sign off. Because if they signed out, you're starting all over again. That's how it was back in those days, man. It's crazy.
I I turned 37 this year, so we're not too far off. So I remember, like I only got internet for the first time when I was like 17, you know, and yeah, first thing was like SoulSeek,
Yeah.
downloading like what I thought was like, a Zeppelin album or something, and then it would just end up being porn or whatever. Or like you would just like
Bro, the
it was
amount of
painful.
fucking the malware on, like, you download
Yeah,
LimeWire, your
yeah,
shit was done. You had to like
yeah.
reformat your
It was
hard drive. Everything was
yeah.
out of control, and it's pretty silly. Somebody says you're gay, and you're probably right. You're probably right. We're all
Uh,
gay. We're all a little bit gay inside. I'm
oh, we're
super
both
happy.
gay.
I'm super happy today. Today's been a good day. Obviously I was looking forward to talking to you, but I also got a lot of small things done off my little fucking chart of like shit Trevor needs to do to kind of move forward. But anyway, I want to get back to, because you got a new record coming out, man, and it's like it's kick
Yeah, man.
ass. You sent it to me a
Yeah.
long time ago. I heard it back in fucking September or something of last year. I think I was on tour with Hellfire and you sent it to me. And
Oh, cool.
I was listening to it on the road and I was like, this is great. I love it. And I loved that there was some slower shit on there that you guys usually don't explore. And I like, as you know, I'm kind of a fan of a little bit more of a slow beat. You've toured with Haunt. It's a lot. I kind of like that fucking swing to the music a little bit, to where you could go
Yeah.
side to side instead of, my dad always used to tell me when I was growing up, he's like, it's hella easy to go like this. it's hella hard to do it all at the same time. It's like,
Dude,
so it's like
yeah,
if you could
yeah.
do that and
You
Lord,
know
it's
what?
getting crazy, dude. It's getting hot in here. I'm gay for hot and traveler. Says
Ooh,
Jesse Torres.
nice.
It's getting crazy in here, man. Turn that
Check this
turn
out.
turn the air conditioner on, man. Turn the
Yeah.
air on. Getting hot.
Well, man,
But
like I've always said, it's way harder to write a good slow tune than it is to write a good fast tune. It's so fucking hard, man. To me, anyway. Because
yeah, you're
I
right
don't know.
because it just opens. It's so much. It's so much. There's so much more open space for it to where it's like you really do have to have a good hook. Whereas I was talking about this last week is with fat with I was talking with Leland, from Visigoth, and we were talking that when you go with speed, it's just powerful no matter what. It has
Yeah,
like a presence to it to where when you start to do a little bit more riffy stuff that's slower and it really becomes a little bit more complicated to really craft that because now you don't you can't rely on that force.
yeah. I mean, it depends what kind of band you are, but definitely like if every single song is out of the gate ripping tremolo, like I love that shit too. Like obviously, but
I mean that's one of my first
yeah,
like that's Sepultura is one of my first loves because um man, Arise just really took me to a place at the time because the 90s.
mhm, yeah. Well, yeah, and wasn't he fucking like 15 or some shit on Morbid Visions or something?
Yeah,
He was something like stupid young.
it's
Uh,
crazy. They're a
so,
great
yeah,
band. I like their original logo better too.
yeah, it's fucking sick, man. But like this
But
one's weird. Like, do you ever notice the toms on Schizophrenia where they have that ring in the background? It's like every single roll had like this weird tonality behind it, and I don't know
yeah,
what they
dude,
were.
Brazilian recording studio for heavy metal in the fucking late '80s. I mean,
But it's
it could not have been. I'm gonna tell you this right now. They didn't have no SSL 9000 boards sitting there or anything Neve at all. Like it was
it's
like
still it sounds great. It fucking
it
sounds awesome.
does. And
Yeah.
but that also gets to a different thing that we'll talk about later. But I want to go back to putting out albums in this current time, in this current state of things, where we have to all kind of, like this new union. They're talking about all the shit artists do now. We're the fucking marketing people. We're the art direction people. We're the engineers, the producers. We're the tour manager. We're the manager. We're the social media person. We're ordering and manufacturing merchandise. We're trying to broker deals for ourselves that aren't throwing us in the gutter. Um, do you like? Do you feel that it's kind of like not worth fighting for? Or do you think it's something we should fight for?
I think it depends who you are, man. Like if you are happy doing all those things yourself, then by all means, fucking go for it. But it's so easy to get overloaded and overwhelmed and like eh, and if you're anything like me, when I get overwhelmed and too busy with shit, I shut down, man. Like I'm just like, hey, fuck it. Like I guess I can't do it or whatever. Or I just like that was a problem I started to notice is that I was taking on a little bit too much. And my attitude was like decreasing like big time. and I was
It's
getting crazy.
daunting. It's
Yeah,
daunting.
yeah, and I was getting really fucked up about a lot of stupid shit that didn't even matter or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, you should hang on to as much as you can, but just as long as you can keep your fucking sanity, you know. Like,
I don't think the fight even like truly ends with Spotify. It really comes down to the fact that you know there's a lot of areas that have really, we've seen the death of Blockbuster Video. We've seen the death of Tower Records, which is like one of the biggest record stores ever. Like I grew up in a Tower Records. I'm sure you've heard of it, and maybe you're not even from Canada. Like I don't know if they had Tower Records in Canada, but
no, no. But I've heard of
have you
it.
have you ever heard of Tower Records though? Even from being
Yeah, yeah.
Canadian?
They're in like movies and shit like that. So,
It's legendary, man. Like, and I was fortunate enough that my dad took me to the Tower Records in San Francisco in the 1980s, where you could go in and they had a heavy metal section. And I mean, there's tapes without shrink wrap. I mean, there's a lot of bootleg shit in there. And I was I was really drawn to metal, hip hop, and punk at the time. Like, I didn't care about any other fucking musics at all. Like, there's just no interest at all. Even I remember when Nirvana came through, I was still even like, yeah, Nirvana, Schmirvana. I wasn't sold on Nevermind, and that band actually didn't really grab my attention until that album Incesticide, which they don't even claim to be an actual studio album for some reason.
okay.
It's fucking weird. Like, I've been corrected on this before. That's why I'm like, I'm not gonna say. I don't want to fucking say it's an album, but it's kind of wild to think that it's real. You can't just go. There's the big chains have failed, and that just is another thing because it like you lose that like I'm going here in this place where it's like I'm gonna find something that I'm gonna be stoked on this weekend. I'm gonna put it in, listen to it. It's gone. So it's like I don't we see a resurgence of mom and pop vinyl shops carrying cassettes and stuff, but I don't want to see the death of CD because I'm a very big fan of CD. I just never could afford it most of my life. But once I got my own job, I mean, that's when I was like, all right, I was going and buying a lot more music.
Well,
Like,
what do you think is better for artists like on the road? It must be vinyl. You know what I mean?
oh,
Like,
I mean, definitely it has it's cooler in a lot of ways. I love the big art, and like there is the ritual of
yeah,
you have your shit catalog organized, you got your record player, you have your dedicated speakers. It's like a dedicated unit to it's like a dedicated space for music alone. And a lot of people's homes don't even have that anymore. I go to people's houses and I'm like, where's your guys' stereo at, like, or
well,
whatever.
I'm gonna grab another beer and
Yeah,
I'll
grab
show
them.
you. I'll show you my little setup I got here. So, but yeah, man, like I still love going to stores and digging through shitty fucking dustbins of
Yeah,
Bruce
you've
Springsteen.
always, you've
You know?
always been you've always been a person that's always been on the lookout for good shit, and you post your findings as well. I've noticed about you that
Oh,
over the years that you're always like,
oh,
hi there, but
that's my wife.
you're always picking up new music and shit, man. You're always like,
Yeah.
or you're posting like, this is the best fucking record. I love this fucking band, whoever it is. I love that. I don't have that. I don't have that quality anymore. I've lost it, man. That shit's left the building, you know?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I just it, it's a total obsession. It's really dorky at times because like okay, the funny thing about like a lot of metalheads that like collect a lot of records and talk about this and that, like everyone's just dorks, man. We're just a bunch of dorks. Like I care about what pressing this Dynasty record is
I
on and
love
what,
that record. I'm
you know
so
what I
glad
mean?
you grabbed that
Yeah.
right now, dude. I love
Yeah,
that one
man.
because I mean, for me, I love "I Was Made for Loving You." I think that's a great
Yeah,
fucking
it's
Kiss
fucking
song.
sick.
It
How do
makes
I
me
flip this
dance,
camera?
bro.
Oh, there we
It
go.
makes me move.
So recent pickups I have. I got this Dead Boys.
Oh, that's a great one, dude. Stiv
Yeah.
Bators, man.
Yeah,
Stiv
man.
fucking Bators.
Suicidal, DBC. This is Julian's old band
Oh
from
yeah,
Sabbath
Julian Freeze.
Massacre.
I can see him right there.
I know, right?
What
Yeah,
up,
check that out.
Julian?
How sick is that?
Ho!
I found that just the
Ho!
other day, man. This Virgin Steel Reckless. Yeah, man. But I got a pretty good little setup here
No,
of
you do,
like,
man. That's great. It's
yeah,
much better than mine. I'm not a major collector anymore because my recording studio has really absorbed a lot of my financial freedom. I'm always like
yeah,
the
get
shit that
that.
I want to buy now. It's like it's gotten to this point where it's like, okay, Trev, where are you gonna pull 4 grand for this microphone, bro? Like you're gonna be saving
Yeah,
for a year to get this thing, man. And I mean, like I have right over here. I'm pointing. You can see my microphone right here. This thing right here, that would be my record budget for the whole year because it was three
yeah.
grand for me to buy that microphone.
I mean,
And
it's worth it, man. To put some money
for
into that.
me, I kind of left. You know, I was a collector for most of my life because my weekends revolved around my dad picking me up, and one of the things we always did, he'd take me skating. He was a really advocate for skateboarding in the 1980s where it was like fuck dude, you know, like you couldn't do that shit anywhere. There was no skate parks. You were just like, so he would find the places where skaters went and take me there. And so we would go to like Golden Gate Park in San Francisco and all these places. And then we would go to fucking Tower Records
Right.
religiously. Or Warehouse. Warehouse kind of was like the place where I wasn't getting, I knew when I already knew this at like 7, that when I went to Warehouse, I wasn't getting as cool as shit there. It
Mm,
was almost
okay,
known because
right.
they didn't carry like there wasn't the buyers there weren't in the scene really, you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
they didn't know what was going on in the underground metal scene. They didn't know what was going on in the hip hop scene in the San Francisco Bay Area. And
Well, that's what I still look for, you know. And every once in a while, you get lucky of some sellers that like don't quite know the value, and it's just gotten so out of hand with like Discogs and shit. Which
yeah, the
like
price is insane, dude.
yeah, like I get it to an extent because you know it's bigger than it ever was. All those underground, all the underground bands and whatever. But yeah, man,
Hey,
I'm
we got a couple things. We got a couple things here. We got some people who have asked a couple things. So
oh,
sorry to cut you off on that, but
oh,
I don't want to like. I started seeing it disappear, and I was like, oh, and I'm gonna light this other joint in a minute, and I mean that question's gonna be vanished into obscurity. So Jesse
I heard
Torres,
them lose.
have y'all listened to the EP for the band Midnight Vice? Yes,
Oh,
I
good.
have. I'm friends with Tyler Gray and those guys. We played with them. They got a fantastic thing going on out in Orlando. I told those dudes, I was like, you guys have given me reason to come to Florida because there's a cool band there. They're cool as fuck dudes. They got like a very I know you'll get there eventually, Traveler. You know, you guys are you're a touring band, and it's just a matter of time before you end up in Orlando, and you'll play the what the fuck is that? The Conduit, I think, is the name of the venue. Great spot. Yeah, they fucking rip. Have you heard them, Matt? What's that?
Uh, you know what? I in my mind I thought I did, but I was thinking of Midnight Dice. So
Yes, you were.
Midnight Vice. I
Yes,
don't think I've heard Midnight Vice, man. No,
they're
I
very
don't.
good, man. Like they definitely have like they're younger dudes, and I like to see that because as you know, like some people would say 40 is not old, but realistically in the entertainment business, when you're 40 years old, you're really looking like you're like, damn, like time, you see things a lot differently when you become 40. And I've been really saddened over the last decade of the decline of a lot of things that I grew up with. I grew up with people that we all hung out together, we played in bands together, and we all went to shows together. I That is like, for me now, that's gone. That's no more. So when I go to Orlando and I see dudes like Midnight Vice, that they're still in their 20s and they're trying to do it, and they got dudes hanging out, they're hanging out with their friends in the parking lot. It just really warms my heart to see that, because it's from those times of, did you you're not much younger than, you're 37, so I mean, I'm only 6 years older than you technically. So did you grow
Yeah,
up that same way? You had your fucking crew. You guys played
yeah,
music together. You went to shows together, partied
yeah.
together.
Like, I don't think that will ever die. Like if you're a young band out playing, and trying to get a name out and whatever, that's what you're gonna do. If you're in your 20s, there's a place in Calgary here called Verns, and it's the spot for any up and coming band, any brand new band. Like Clint, shout out to Clint. He's probably the most important dude in Calgary because he will give anyone a spot on that fucking stage to go up and suck as much as they want,
Love
and
that.
it's
So
like
important. That could be
it's
the
so
next
important,
biggest
yeah.
band in the world.
Right,
You just
exactly,
got to
man.
give
And
them.
like
You just got to give them a place to fucking do their thing.
every single band out of Alberta or Western Canada or like, I mean, fucking Skullfist has played there. Like we've all played there. You know what I mean? It's just like the spot to go when you're starting and whatever. Um, and in the back of that, in the alley, there's like a little nook in the corner where everyone would piss and puke and smash beer bottles and fucking just everything. It was just like mania back there. And that's still going on, man. Now it's still going on.
That's great. I mean,
It won't.
that's Canada though, man. That's Canada.
Yeah,
Like I don't really see the same thing over here. Like I mean, like we got the boys in Hellfire, and we got the boys out in LA, and the Saber dudes you got to tour with, you know. And then you got Haunt. Kind of, we're in the armpit of California, you know. So here in Fresno, there is no heavy metal scene. Like I have no friends here other than the dudes in my band, and like just people, acquaintances, and people I've met and known throughout my years of being here. But as far as like bands go that are like trying to tour, trying to make it happen, I feel like a lot of Fresno bands just don't really they don't really go after the prize. There's some, and so I don't want to disclude any of them, but but I know for heavy metal, I can't speak for every genre here because we do have a good punk scene here, hardcore scene, but like for metal, it's like we kind of like in California, we got the Car Bar crew from Merced. So I'm gonna give a shout out to the Merced Car Bar crew real quick, because those motherfuckers are the real deal. They follow us everywhere, man. They've been following me, Hellfire, Saber, everybody that's playing. They're back and forth all over the fucking place. And
sweet.
I love to see that shit. I love that about California. But like it's weird because I guess I didn't really grow up in the metal scene as much. I grew up in the punk scene. The punk scene always just seemed to have a lot more camaraderie going on. I mean, I don't want to say that there isn't within metal, because obviously there is, but like it's just different. I look at it differently because you know the times have really changed. The venues have changed. There's a lot that's changed in the United States, where I feel like Canada and Europe, it's like there's a lot more bands. There really is, man. There's probably more Canadian bands in heavy metal right now doing like the old school metal shit than all of the United States, man. It's so
Really?
few.
Oh
I can
fuck! I don't.
almost fucking name. I can almost name them all that are actually active and touring, and
Well,
that's
man, that's funny that you bring that up because I was doing an interview today, and it was like a similar thing where he asked about uh, all the trad bands coming out of Canada and whatever. But the funny thing about that is, like dudes in Spell and Gatekeeper and all those dudes like us, you name it. Like any band that is making a name for themselves a little bit now, like it didn't happen overnight.
Man.
They've been fucking playing forever, man. So only now they're just starting to figure out and hone their craft, you know? So
Yeah.
it's not an overnight thing. It's just these people stuck to it, man. They fucking didn't stop. It wasn't a phase. They just kept eating shit until one day they stopped eating shit, you know? So
I
that's it.
love that, man. That's a
Yeah.
great. That was it. Couldn't have been said any better. And I found one thing. I remember starting doing the Beastmaker thing, and when I finally got like a chance to have a stage and and be like, well, here I am, like finally after all the years of just like toil, like punk to whatever style. I mean, I was joining bands. I had a completely different vision than the vision you see here today. 20 years ago. My vision was I don't want to be the leader. I just want to be the guitar player. I don't want to deal with anything. I'm going to just sit here and play and pack up my shit and that's it for the night. That was like, but I also wanted like, I wanted to influence people because I usually joined bands with dudes that liked different music than me. I was always the oddball in every fucking band I played in because but
Yeah.
also I was really versatile in that light because I played finger picking acoustic guitars. I could do any sort of rock and roll music. I grew up listening to Frankie Valli and shit like that. So I mean, there's the Zombies, Beatles. I mean, I actually had a Beatles book and I learned almost the whole thing. It was like a
Nice.
thing I had to do for myself because that's when I was learning to sing and play guitar because they're like a strummy band. But like like I already knew it was easy to do punk, but like to start to do melody and then more complex chord changes because their chord changes were a lot different back then than what we use today.
You know what tune is actually pretty fuck. Was it Blackbird? The acoustic
Oh
the
fuck, dude! That's how I learned to finger pick.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
the
it's rad as
song.
hell. Yeah.
That's a
For
great
sure.
one. It's
Yeah, it's
such a
great.
beautiful song, and we all know it and love it. So real quickly, John, happy birthday. That's Noogie's dad. And then what up
Yo,
to King Diamond 5150? Love King Diamond. George was an outstanding guitar player. Beatles, yes. Like
yeah.
I think he's talking about George Harrison anyway, but like I found the Beatles though, honestly, to like when I first heard the Beatles, and this is crazy, I hated them. I hated them so fucking much. But I was so young growing up around all of these fucking musicians because of my dad. Like, I heard shit that dude, I had no friends in elementary school, even on the fucking same wave as I was on, man. I was listening to Millions of Dead Cops, Misfits, Suicidal Tendencies, Black Sabbath, and they're fucking still listening to whatever Tears for Fears or whatever the radio shit that their parents let them listen to. And when
I
I
still
heard the Beatles, and when I
oh,
heard the Beatles for the first time, I thought it was weak. I was like, what? This
yeah,
is
yeah.
sissy music. You can't skate to this shit.
Yeah, it's super easy to I, I just hope I hope most people eventually expand their mind a little bit.
Yes.
In my opinion, like the Beatles are great for their era and what they've done. They're really important. But I mean, like as far as like rock music goes, like there was a lot of better bands in my
Yeah,
opinion.
they were soft, but you know what they
Yeah,
brought? They brought a couple things to me that forever will be with me. And that's I learned so my friend Kino that I grew up with in Calaveras County, Kino Rojas, what up? If he's checks us out, want to give him some love. He was like my partner in crime at tackling that book. And because you have to have two guys to do Beatles because
Mm,
there's always two singers, So
right.
um what I really brought with me, and everybody hears it in Haunt, is I do like four fucking person backup vocals on like I have to have a plethora of it. I just like something really drew me to the Beatles later in life. As soon as I started realizing that, like, okay, well, you add the third to the fifth, and
Right.
you have this fucking genius melody, vocal harmony going on now that it's almost like the dual guitar thing that both you and I utilize heavily. It just there's a beauty to it, and that's when I really started like diving into like singing differently than just a lot of the
Mm,
bands I was in growing up, we just screamed, and like gave it attitude. Our backing singing was more chanting, and it
yeah.
wasn't melody driven. And the Beatles, dude, I had my Beatles phase. It lasted like 2 or 3 years because I mean, first off, the Beatles book, and people that may have been like me may know what I'm talking about. They sell it on Amazon still. The Beatles book. I mean, you look at the fucking it is pretty. You open the first page, you're like, these motherfuckers wrote a lot of songs. And to start dissecting them one by one
Well,
really
not
gave me a lot of
the
insight into
project.
the future of songwriting for myself, because I was like, it can be so easy, but yet so fucking complex when you start to add these elements together.
Well, like Kiss is like that too, man. Like,
Fuck yeah.
like
Hell yeah.
they were like Kiss was basically 10 years later
So
Beatles.
much better than the Beatles. So much better than the
Yeah,
Beatles for me now as
yeah,
as a grown man, because Kiss is another band when I was young that I thought was a little weak as well, because
yeah.
mind you, I'm listening to Maiden, Metallica, and then you put Kiss on, you're like, you see all these dudes like they look scary as fuck, and then it's just like some radio rock shit.
Yeah, Kiss definitely came a little bit later for me because I mean, in the early days of like discovering music ever, all I heard was like probably only like that rock and roll song, like that's the one you hear everywhere. And I was like, okay, that fucking sucks,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, dude. Yeah,
And you
it's
know what?
tough.
I still think that song sucks.
Yeah,
But
no, I mean it.
I didn't know that like everything else was so goddamn good, like that Dynasty record, all the the B-sides and whatever, like their back
Bro, the
catalog
best, my
insane.
personal favorite Kiss song ever, and it will never change. This is for all time, Black Diamond. It is
Yeah,
by
yeah.
far it never the rip doom doo doo
It's
doo 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 doo.
I wish they
It's
did that like
so good.
ending. The only thing about it, the ending is like stupid long and annoying, but that
Yeah.
song itself is so fucking good, man. I
Starts
love
off
that.
with a great acoustic lick,
Yeah,
you
man,
know.
it's amazing.
Um,
It's
genius.
Strutter. Yeah,
Genius fucking band. We're big Kiss fans over here. It was the first band my son got into so heavily, because I used
right.
to sing when I'd rock him to sleep when he was a baby. I'd always go doo, 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 doo,
It's,
doo.
yeah,
No
right on.
joke. And my son's gonna come out and he's gonna blow everybody's minds one day, because I don't want him to follow the same path as me, but it's gonna be really hard for him not to take the same journey as I did in my fucking legacy, in the legacy of the churches over here. You got my dad, who, I mean,
Yeah,
he influenced me so much, even when he didn't influence me, because there's part, my dad's phases of music really evolved, and he went country, and I used to hate going to his gigs. But the one thing I loved about watching my dad, though, was like he just, when he fucking touches that fucking instrument, he is so in his element. You could just tell, he was like
Right.
destined to play. And
Does
I
he?
always like appreciated that. And because like my dad, I used to thought, I'm like, dude, what's he doing? This is my dad's move. I can mimic it like nobody's
Right,
fucking
right.
tomorrow. He'd just
That's
be
sick.
playing. He played with the
Yeah,
pick. And check out the bass that he played. I'm gonna go grab it.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Does he still play?
This is the fucking bass, bro. The
Oh,
Steinberger. So he's sitting there fucking rocking
that's a
this thing. He has a
yeah, yeah.
flat top. He has a flat top at this point, kind of like your hair and a
Right.
mullet. And playing country licks and shit. But like, I love
Does he?
this thing. This is like, I
Yeah,
keep it over. I keep it over by where I sing. It kind of reminds me of where I came from. When I look over and I think about all the shit my dad taught me about music over the course of my life. And the most important ones were always the stupidest. Gotta play from your heart, son. It's like, well, no shit.
yeah.
Like, but
It's the
but
most cliche
really,
thing, but it's true.
you start to sometimes follow other people's dreams. You start to follow and get into other people's dreams, and that's where the heart falls out. Like, you could
Mm,
love being a musician and love playing it, but you could find yourself with a group of musicians in a band where you don't even really respect the music. I've been in a lot of bands like that, because one thing that I made sure of is that when I was young, that I got some touring experience to see if this was even anything I was interested in. So I started touring when I was like 18. So, I couldn't go on a tour before that. I was in fucking school. My mom would never have dude, my first tour, my mom thought I was gonna die.
right.
Like, she was like,
Naturally.
she was so overprotective of me. I'm her
Mm,
only son. So it's like, I
yeah.
get it, but it was like she knew that I needed to go do these things and be broke as fuck, break down in the middle of nowhere. But the lot, I toured in bands in the 2000s. There was an era of this record label that I absolutely hated, Drive Through Records. It's like the worst label of all time and the worst bands of all time. Sorry if you like that shit, but um
Drive through
I,
record.
I I landed myself in a band that was on that label that was completely different from them. It was more folk rock music, and I've always been a fan of folk rock. I love Bob Dylan. I thought that was one of those dudes. When I read his lyrics, I'm like, man, this guy. I mean, compared to me, I write like two fucking sentences done. This motherfucker never repeated a line. It's like, fuck, dude, like 4 pages of lyrics,
Right.
and I really love this about there's one thing that I joined this band called An Angle, and I'm thankful for the opportunity because I toured with them for like fucking 2 or 3 years. I hated their music, but I loved the lyric, and I was like, maybe I'll influence them with my shit, and we could somehow one day find a way. But the one thing that band gave me, and I wasn't, you got to remember, like I said, I didn't want to be a leader back then. It was more like I just wanted to play in bands and just do my thing. Like, bring a guitar, bring an amp, pack up, I'm done for the night. I'm not selling merch, I'm not like doing any of that shit. Like, that's I'm gonna go
Mm,
do me. But I'll play with ferocity, and anytime I perform, I'll always sweat, I'll always put everything I got in. But
yeah, you got it, man.
they fucking toured hard, dude. Like, I remember doing a tour with them one time that was, and we don't even do tours like this anymore. 3 fucking months on the road, just gone. Like,
Man,
I
can't imagine.
lived in the we lived in Walmart parking lots, dude. Like,
Right.
we cooked bean and cheese burritos on a Coleman grill. And in the morning when I had to take a shit, I had to walk into Walmart and walk to the fucking bathrooms way in the back. I mean, it was tough times.
Yeah.
The singer of the band was very like anti hotel. He's like, "Ugh." And I used to tell him all the time, like, if I get sick, I was like, you're getting a fucking hotel tonight because I have a fucking fever and I'm gonna die. You know,
So
like
was it was like a 3-month tour just around the states or what?
yes, yes,
Shit. Yeah, man.
like
Like
real heavy, dude. Like we went all over. I mean, we'd get all the way to New York City. We would actually round the East Coast sometimes, like on that specific tour. I That's the most I ever saw of New York City. We played
yeah.
everywhere.
Well,
Syracuse, Buffalo, New York. We played Amityville. We played I don't know, I'm missing one, but
yeah.
long
But that
story short, I saw a lot of cities in that band, and I was young enough to, like it made me thirsty. And it did start to like at the end of that band, I quit every tour, mind you. Like every tour we did, like I quit 4 or 5 times in the tour. I'd be like, I'm going home. Fucking
right.
done with you guys right now. Because they partied pretty hard. They get fucked up. And
Well, I was
like
gonna
it
say
was
like
crazy.
a tour is a lot easier when everyone is just on the same page, everyone's on the level, and like you could theoretically do a 3-month tour and come back and not fucking hate each other if everyone is like if everyone's good, playing nice
Bro,
and
I could
whatever.
not do that. I could not
Yeah,
do that ever
yeah,
again. I'm not gonna like it was it gave me an appreciation for the music, and it showed me what. So now I had a blueprint of like how to go do it myself. That's when things started clicking, and I'm like, all right, now you need it. So the first things like I feel like, and this is probably where 90% of bands will fail.
mhm.
The first thing a fucking band needs, first off, songs, right? Like you need
Yeah,
songs.
you do need songs, believe it
And
or
if
not.
you even want a fucking chance in hell, you have to have a vehicle for the band. Because I feel like when you don't have a fucking vehicle, it's like, how are you gonna get it out there? In most bands, I could, dude, if I started going down the fucking list of bands that I know that don't have a van, it's like, bro, you can't. That's how it's done. And if you
Well,
want
we
to
don't have a
be,
fucking I'll tell you right now, we don't have a van.
but JP does, or
JP
did,
has had vans for
and
sure. Yeah.
And you guys actually helped spark what I do now. We travel in an SUV with a trailer.
Dude, that was probably the best call. That was a lot of scrambling too, because that was by accident. We were supposed to tour in that in JP's van. Like he had a cargo van, but the fucking seats weren't put in. So like we had to scramble and get Nolan's SUV, and then luckily Jake, who is now in the band, but at the time he wasn't. Uh, oh no, yeah, no, he was. Sorry, fuck, god damn it, I got all my timelines fucked up. Jake had a trailer that he toured with WMD and stuff. So,
Okay.
oh no, no, Jake wasn't on that tour. Jesus
No,
Christ,
he
man.
wasn't.
So,
It was Dave still,
dude,
bro.
it was
It was still
Dave. Dude,
Dave.
I'm like, I have such a hard time keeping track of time and everything. Anyway, Dave was on that tour, the Allied Forces tour, but Jake lent us his trailer for that actually,
Sick.
and then later on ended up actually being in the band. So he has a really sick ass trailer that we use. Um,
I mean,
the
I'm
only
not gonna
problem,
lie. I mean, I took it because like what it really showed me is like, well, I did it in Beastmaker one time because we broke down and had to rent something, and that was what we ended up with. But it was a much larger SUV. We ended up in a Ford Expedition, which is fucking huge. That's it. So that's a different tier. It was a tier I couldn't afford, but I found a mid-size SUV that had the trailer hitch, all that shit built into the frame, so you could tow much more. It's rated at 5,000 pounds. So I was like, you know, you start looking at your gear and your fucking t-shirts, you're like, this ain't even close to that. It's maybe 1,500 pounds tops. We
Yeah.
could be driving in a brand new fucking vehicle. We don't have to we don't have to drive in the side vehicle, because let's be honest, in any band, the van is like the side bitch. It ain't good. It ain't gonna be, you know, unless your band's doing great. Like your
Yeah.
van's pretty shitty,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in
Yeah,
heavy
man.
metal. In heavy metal,
Well,
the van
like,
is always shitty.
well, the thing is, man, like with how Traveler operates, because like we have like a severe disadvantage compared to a lot of bands, because like for one, like at the time Dave lived in Edmonton, which is 3 hours north of us. JP has lived like kind of all over, you know, like sometimes he would be in like Portland or whatever. Like now he's in Michigan, but he's actually moving to San Francisco soon. So like it's nice to have like a little American seed over there to kind of help with like different logistics and whatever. But as far as like touring goes, like we were never really in a position to have a band van, because it's not like we all live in the same fucking city and we can just like all hop in and go. There was like a lot more planning involved. So we
Yeah,
ended up,
our tour. So
yeah,
was the Haunt Traveler Screamer tour. That was like Traveler's first American tour. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah,
So
like
like
we played festivals, but yeah, that
you
was our
did some
first.
fests and stuff. So I mean, there was like, you know, I definitely had a little hand in getting in the organization of putting that together. But we had talked about it for years. I reached out to you and I was like, I think it'd be great. You guys are just right up the West Coast. Because a lot of times what happens is the band's really far, because like the East is really far. The West, even where you're at, you're like, well, it's far, but it ain't fucking 3 days away far.
Yeah, yeah. When you say like we're right there, I mean it's still a fucking 12, 13 hour drive, you know.
That ain't shit. I mean, if I had to count how many tours I started when we did the Municipal Waste tour. We drove from California to Dallas. That's 24 hours of straight driving.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, like growing up in Canada, especially Calgary, like you have to get used to driving, man. Because the nearest
Yeah.
city, so the so where we are, like the nearest cities like that are quote unquote like worth playing, uh, like Edmonton is 3 hours north, and then we have Vancouver, that's 12 hours west, and then after that, like Saskatchewan, man, like I don't even know what is actually worth playing in Saskatchewan, but I know they have a really good punk scene. There's like a lot of really solid people there, but as far as like heavy metal goes, man, like I'm really not sure. Like I don't know what it would be like if we were to tour straight across to Toronto. We might just be
Does
eating
Traveler?
shit
Do you
the
guys
entire
have
way.
any? Do you have any U.S. dates lined up for 2024?
Yeah, well, we got Hell's Heroes, right? That's coming up, and then and we're actually flying in on the Thursday, so I'll see you in a
No,
few weeks.
I'm not gonna be there this year.
I thought you were playing. Were
No,
you on the Thursday?
we're going. So we're gonna be. We're off to Europe in 3 weeks,
Oh fuck!
and
I swear I
we will
thought I saw
be.
you on the bill.
No,
Okay.
it's because we're always on the bill. This is the first
Yeah.
year that
Right.
Haunt has not been
Yeah.
on the bill. So
Okay.
I understand your confusion, because like we're actually the house band, because
Yeah. Yeah.
Haunt was formed because of Hell's Heroes. I didn't
Okay.
have a band until Christian offered me a gig.
Oh
So
shit. Okay. Okay.
there's
Well,
a
that's
deep rooted history of Haunt and Hell's Heroes that a lot of people are just starting to realize, and that's why we are on always, because it's like it's a fucking celebration of the band even becoming a band, and you know, Hell's Heroes 1 becoming a thing. We just kind of stuck with it, you know, touring band, because I toured with Beastmaker, man. Like I was on the road, and so
yeah.
as soon as Haunt started, it was like, all right, I'm on the road again, but as Haunt, you know, like it just shifted. So it was like it was rad to be able to bring you guys here, man. I really hope that you guys channel that and come back through, because I felt like our tour, it was pretty good for the most part, other than we had a couple shitty ones, but I mean the places that they were at was like, what do you really expect out here? You know, you get to the city and you see the dynamic of the city and you realize like there's no like, that was a weird ass show, I will say, in New Mexico, at Albuquerque. That was one of the more like,
That was
this
pretty
kind of
fucked.
whack,
Yeah,
but I remember we all
it
got
was pretty.
paid that night, so it was kind of like,
Yeah,
well, the show sucked, but we have enough money for gas and a hotel tonight.
yeah. I was kind of just thinking like, yeah, the like. Well, it was like pretty much a solid month of touring, right? So
Yeah,
like, you're gonna get some stinkers. So it was expected, and thankfully, there weren't very many,
there
and the ones
weren't.
that,
I can't even really think of one where I was like really disappointed. Other
yeah,
than
there was
other than
only.
like, I remember I lost my voice in Seattle, and then we had to
Mm,
play Portland the next night, and it was like pouring rain. So I wasn't in a very good mind state at that point, because that was like right in the beginning of the tour, and I had to like, I spent that tour trying chasing that, like it was like
right.
every night it was like, fuck man, like this
Yeah,
sucks
I mean, but you
for
know,
me. But that
uh,
was that if that was the low note, and those shows were well attended, and like I feel like the scene is still growing too, so like it's actually
yeah,
getting better out there. There's more bands starting to be out there. You got like Bloodstar touring pretty heavily, Savage Master, and Night Demon, and obviously I do a lot of touring. Hellfire is another one of those ones that people are starting to, you see us out there like pushing it, Entranced, and of course Saber from LA. I'd like to see those bands do a little bit more. I know how hard it is getting a band going, and they're a little bit later to the table than say Haunt and Traveler, where we our bands have been around for a while. So that leads me to, I just want to talk real quickly about your new record, and just some information. Like, when does it come out, man? Like, and is it out? Because I've had it for a
but
year, like.
yeah, no, no, no. So it comes out February 23rd. So
Oh, it's a big
pre-sales
month
are up
for you.
right
This is
now.
this is release month, man. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
yeah.
I'm
Thanks,
stoked
man.
for
Yeah.
you.
Well, yeah,
So,
man. Like we worked really fucking hard on it. It was really challenging because like we obviously I wrote most of it, if not no, I basically wrote all of it in like during lockdown. Dave contributed a song, Rebels of Earth, which is my favorite one. My favorite ones are always the ones that like I didn't
that you
write.
didn't write.
Yeah, yeah. But I love that song. It's a fucking really good tune. Um, but yeah, so we put that together throughout lockdown. But then we had to deal with like border issues and all sorts of bullshit because JP lived in Michigan, so he was recording remotely. I was producing remotely. There was a challenge there because it's just like way harder when you're not in the fucking room. And
Yeah, that sounds like a fucking nightmare unless everybody's like, we got to get this shit done in 2 weeks.
it was tough, uh, but I mean, like we pulled through all that shit. It was great. Like JP is like the fucking man.
Oh
I love
yeah, dude,
that.
love JP.
Uh,
So
and
good.
uh, and then like Chad quit in the middle of like right after he was done like recording the drums. Basically, he was out, and then Dave was out shortly after that because he wants to focus on EMT and whatever. But I mean, I still love both those guys. Actually, Dave was supposed to come over tonight, but he's coming over tomorrow. He's in the mountains right now, and he's gonna come over in the morning, and we're gonna hang out. But there's no bad blood of anyone. We're all fucking cool as shit. So
I mean, I can't really see your band. You guys, like, you guys aren't like very dramatic dudes at all, and I look up to that because I'm pretty dramatic, but that's just by character. Like, my shit is, I just operate a lot differently because I'm overseeing all things, in this
yeah,
in this band. So it's like I always have like All right, how are you keeping this ship running, Trev? And what are you gonna do? How's the order of operations? And like the hardest thing that I've been really challenging, like I've been challenged with lately is the as you go on in the years of being a band, it actually starts to get harder to do because like there's more eyes on you. You're now older, like, but it's also great because like there's like a lot of growth in that because you've been out working, so there's
Yeah,
but it just becomes the responsibilities just start to get really really like out there. Like I'm overseeing, like I wrote a check to the record plant the other day for $18,000, and I was just like, wow, like
yeah,
I
that's
just
gnarly.
spent
Yeah.
18,000 fucking bucks on
Well,
this
that was one
manufacturing
thing.
plant.
That was one thing I was actually explaining to Tori because we had a pretty good chat the other day. Um, like most of the band members, they take a backseat as far as like what's going on, like social media wise, record label shit, blah blah blah, like all that stuff, which I'm
Yeah,
like
that's the
totally
shit that sucks.
the
Nobody
shit
wants
that
to do
sucks.
that shit.
Exactly. All the shit that sucks. And it's like it's fine. I like doing it. I like overseeing and being in control of what direction and things are going and whatever. But man, it adds a lot of goddamn stress, dude. So
It,
like
it it's
it's
tough.
easy to forget when you don't have to do it. You know what I mean?
It is. And
Um
it's the
yeah.
one area where I wish I sometimes just would just go with a record label and not do it independently because it's such there's not really any financial obligation, but you make a lot less money working for somebody else. That should be known in any business model. When you
Yeah.
work for somebody else, you make less money. When you work
Yeah.
for yourself and it works out, you make the most money because you put it out there. So that leads me, so you guys are now with No Remorse, correct? Is that the new
Yeah. So I mean
shit?
like so like to your point of like going independent and whatever. Um like if I didn't have a day job, 100%, that's what I'd be doing. Because adding a day job on top of that job is just like
No.
it's brutal. It's brutal.
I did it.
But
I
that's
did it. I did
but
it for a little bit. I had to quit. It was like
yeah,
I had to make the decision of, do I quit 18-year career and start a new one? Because it took me a couple years to decide. I went to part-time and doing it, and then I just realized that when I was at my other job, all I wanted to do was be at home writing songs, working on records, honing my skills, and trying to do it. So that's
man,
when I
yeah,
knew it was over
yeah,
with. I had to quit, dude. And
yeah.
that you're right. It's very you can't. It's one or the other, man. It really is.
Yeah. It's tough, man. But then there's like r- there's the added stress of like reality too. Like, you know, happily married. I have to keep a really awesome relationship with my wife.
Yeah.
We just bought a house last year. I can't quit my fucking job.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah,
Congrats.
well, thanks, man. Yeah, like it's all like great things. But if I were to just like fuck off and quit my job and be like, I'm gonna go play rock and roll, like, I'd be fucked.
Well, who
It's tough.
knows? We don't
Yeah,
know what the future. We don't know what the future brings to music because you guys, like, I hate to sound like some sort of like pioneer, but I am definitely like very spoken about, like I talk about the problems in music business all the time because I always kind of find myself in the crossfire as a manufacturer, as somebody that has an online store that um, pays my bills on top of doing a Patreon page and these things uh, that I do to make ends meet. It's like, fuck, man.
it's great,
It's
man.
easier just
Like,
to kind of like have a job and play music for fun than it. But it will be interesting to see if like this music union that's forming right now, that's out there, and they're starting to get some traction because I think a lot of artists are just like They're just like, why are things the way they are? Why? Because like, most artists, they can charge what they want. A painter can be like, this is $50, this is 500. We don't have a fucking goddamn say at all. It's like we might as well not even have mouths. It's like this is what it's
Yeah.
cost, and that's
Yeah.
that.
Well,
It's like,
man,
oh,
like totally all the power to anyone that does it. Like major props to you for making it work and everything, man.
I want to see people
It's
be able
rad
to
as
get
hell.
paid. I want people to get paid for the art because I feel like that's when people talk about like the music, they always say that music of the past is better. I don't really believe that, but part of it was that they were able to really focus on that 100% more than what we have to do now. Now it's like half of your time is spent working your day job, and then you're lucky if 1/5 of that time on the other side is spent actually working on music.
Hmm.
So it's like
Yeah.
you think about it, it's like you need that other half to really like dial shit in properly and hone your skills together as a unit, have like a real tight band scenario, garage band, so to speak, where that's what you do on the weekends, you're jamming with your friends. Some of us have experienced it, some have not. But I feel like, I love Bandcamp. I don't like that it's like I don't like the buying and selling of companies. I think it's a bad look, but I understand why it has to happen because it got too big for the original corporation to hold it together. Those guys just could not run it as a business any longer, and they needed as maybe some people that are much better suited, like Song Trader. So we went from it being bought by Epic Games, which is a video game thing, to them just really just fucking up a lot of the financial stuff and going way out of their wheelhouse and something that they didn't know. To it being sold to Song Trader, who works on syncing music and licensing, and they deal with that end of the spectrum, and I think that's a great thing. It's a good thing to add to the table because who knows what they're going to be able to bring to bands as far as syncing, licensing. They're just much more knowledgeable. So
Hmm.
even though I feel bad that a lot of people lost their jobs, and it is a corporate kind of takeover, but Bandcamp puts it's like fucking eBay for music. You could do your own thing there. You could have your own, how many fucking people spawned home business off eBay? You know, you just
Yeah,
give that
it's
person away.
amazing too, man. Is like I have a lot of like I have friends outside of the heavy metal industry and whatever. Like I have some folk friends and whatever, and they don't even use it. They use an entirely different platform, and I don't even know what kind of traction they get on those things. I can't imagine it's like anywhere near what we get, but
No,
it's an
Bandcamp is
awesome platform, but you know,
Bandcamp is obviously like the revolution of music.
uh oh,
Going
you
to be
cut
on
out.
Spotify.
Sorry.
Only a few of the songs are, and I just lowered my digital price, and I'm just gonna be like, if you want to hear it, it's so cheap that you'd be a dick for complaining about the
Right.
cost. It's like
Yeah.
you own it now. Like you could take it and put it on
Sorry, you're starting to cut out, man. Hold on.
shit off all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it it it's done really well for us. And I mean, as far as like bigger corporations taking over and whatever, it sucks, but sometimes it's necessary. And maybe those dudes who were really independent and worked really hard to create Bandcamp to what it is, now they're getting their paycheck and they earned it, and they might be, you know, living happily ever after. you know. Sorry, you're completely cut out here. I don't know if this. Can you hear me?
Right now. But
Yeah.
I sorry to cut it short, but I mean,
Oh, it's
we
cool.
got an hour and a half of good chat. But
Are we good?
what could we see from Traveler this year, man?
Well, we got Hell's Heroes coming up in March. We have Mile High Power in Denver. That's in August. All that's on our link tree and whatever. You can find that on social media. And then we have a European tour coming up with Night Demon, who you know very well, and Hannawar. Hannawar are good friends in England. They do like a Manowar cover band, and fuck, man, it's so fun. We have a blast with these guys. So yeah, it'll be nice to reconnect.
The fucking bands out there. They got a new record coming out February 23rd. Heavy metal traveler, I think, is your username on the social medias. I hope I run into you, but I know I'll talk to you before all that. So
Yeah, yeah,
much love,
totally.
brother. It's great talking.
Oh shit, you're breaking up, man. Hold on, sorry.
Dudes, guys.
Shit, hold on one sec.
Okay.
Sorry, you're breaking up. I couldn't hear a fucking thing you said there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep. I'll talk
Okay,
to you later.
dude. I love you, man.
And out,
Thank
man.
you so much.
Much love. Later, bro.
All right, cheers.
Later, dude.